We're going to be in Genesis chapter 12 tonight. And what I'm going to do is try to speed up to chapter 21 of Genesis. And I'm going to try to tell you the story of Abraham and a Cliff Note version of the story of Abraham. Because we see that Abraham is called by God. Abraham is after the flood. And we are introduced to Terah and Terah's brother. We see Lot. Lot becomes the custodial child of Abraham. Abraham takes him because his father dies. God tells Abraham to leave his father's house and go to a land that he will show him. He makes Abraham some promises about being the father of nations. And at this time, Abraham has no children. And so God makes him a promise without the fulfillment, in the sense that he has no children to carry out this promise. Because in order to be the father of a nation, you got to first have sons and children, or a son or sons, in order to be the father of a great nation. And it's amazing how Abraham had two sons. And one of those sons will be the father of a nation, a great nation, the nation that God promised. But he would also have a second son, and he would be the father of a great nation, but not the son of promise. And in this narrative, we're going to see the drama play out. Now, one of the things I learned in Bible school is when you preach, especially Baptist preachers, Dr. Christopher Davis talks about in Memphis Theological Seminary, where he used to teach, about when you teach or tell these stories, you have to have an imagination, and you have to really understand the human drama. There's a lot of drama going on in this narrative, because Abram and Sarai are old beyond childbearing years. And so God is going to promise them a child, not when she's fertile, but when she's old, when Abraham's old. Both of them are old. But the challenge is, an old man can have a baby, even when he's old, if you find a fertile young woman. But in this situation, we know that because in the story, a young woman gonna sleep with Abraham, and the issue is not Abraham not able to have children, it's Sarai. Because Abraham, old man, has sexual relations with a young sister, which is a slave, Hagar, and we probably know she is African American. She is a slave, and he does impregnate her, not because she wanted to, but because she was sent by Sarai to have sex with her husband Abraham. And really what I wanted to extract from that particular narrative, that part of the narrative, is the human drama, the human emotions. Now, we beat Sarai up for doing what she did, but she thought about the fact that she felt some kind of way that she couldn't give Abraham a child. And she did it probably for the right reasons, but the wrong way. And it created a messy situation. Now, if you look at all that's going on in this text, so many lessons about human emotions. I mean, you have a man who has been given a promise. He doesn't know how God's going to do it. You have a woman whom God has given a promise, and when she heard the angel tell Abraham, she laughed and said, this is not going to happen. And this is where the angel says, is there anything too hard for God or impossible for God? And she still didn't know how God was going to do it. And so she decided to do something that we tend to do in our lives when God makes us promises, or when we want God to do something and God is delayed in doing it, or God takes his time in doing it. We try to help God out, which is the worst thing. God works on his own time scale. God ain't never in no hurry either. Now, if you ain't impatient with God, And if God has tried your patience, you probably never asked nothing of him. God takes his time, God moves in his own time, but he's always on time. And it all works out for his glory and for your good. And so she tried to help God out. And you blame Abraham if you want to, that'll be fine. But he only did what his wife asked him to do. And he had sex with Hagar, and she conceived a son, but that wasn't a son of promise. It produced what they intended it to produce, which was a son. But Sarah, while Hagar was pregnant, started mistreating that girl. The child wasn't there yet. The child wasn't born. But she saw that Abraham was smiling too much. I'm your wife. Now you all out here laughing and giggling with Hagar, and Hagar is pregnant. She's excited about being pregnant by her master. And the baby hadn't come yet, but boy, I mean, you just see the joy of Abraham. And it would be joyful to know that you are about to have your firstborn son. And despite of how it got there, the joy of Abraham, the joy of Hagar, carrying the baby of a great man. Now, Abraham was wealthy at this time. And so to see him and her interact, Sarai, old and barren, now seeing the smile that Abraham used to express toward her is being expressed toward Hagar. And this set her off. Set her off. And the human emotions involved, I'm not a woman, but it would be like in our modern time, you're married to a man and you did invite a woman into the bedroom or into your husband's bedroom and you find out she's pregnant. And you said, okay, ain't nothing we can do about that, I'm gonna stay with you. But I'm gonna be a part of this pregnancy. And this is something we gonna work our way through. And then that woman start coming over. You start going to the doctor with her and your husband, and you see them grinning and carrying on. That wouldn't go well. It would stir up some emotions in you, and you would be like Sarah. That wouldn't go well. And so she finally said to Abram, she got to go. Y'all having too much fun. You're grinning too much. You're smiling too much. And y'all act like I don't even exist. You speak to me, but you smile at her. You used to worry about me and how I was doing, and if I'm okay, now you're asking about Hagar. I'm just putting what is called imagination and preaching, dealing with the human drama. And Abraham's concern was legit. She was a surrogate. She was carrying his child that she would give over to Sarai eventually. And so all of this human emotion, it's a lot. And the lesson is we can make a mess out of things when we try to help God out. When we try to do what God said he's going to do, bring about miracles or bring about manifestations that God says he's going to do. Let me give you the best illustration, which is really not about pregnancy and the child, but God has promised to bless us, to provide all of our needs. The problem with the prosperity gospel is so many prosperity gospel preachers are trying to help God out, and they have made a mess of this thing about giving in the church. God will take care of us. He will provide for us. He knows what we need, and he will supply our needs according to his riches that are in glory. God is not going to let his church go untaken care of financially. He's not going to let us go untaken care of. And so he says that the birds of the air and the lilies of the field, they got what they need. And he said, are you not more than they? But what the prosperity gospel has done is hijacked it, and they want to help God out. And so they put a lot of financial burdens on people that God never told them to put. First of all, you ain't got to beg God knows what his church needs. He knows what you need, and he's going to provide. When we help God out, we make a mess of things. And that's why the church is in the condition it is in when it comes to its reputation, that the church is all about money. I'm just giving you an illustration that if we done it the Bible way, the biblical way, God's way, the church would be taken care of. But we kind of made a mess of that. And so this situation had become messy. So she puts Hagar out. Hagar goes out in the desert. This is the thing I want to tell you. Sometimes God has to step in and take care of mistakes we produce. And those mistakes are consequences of us having to help God out. Now, this is like God. Not to abandon Hagar and her unborn son Ishmael, but to take care of them. Because if you keep reading the biblical narrative, you're going to see that God visits her in the middle of the desert to tell her, listen, I know that you didn't ask to be a part of this. I know that you had to consent to your mistress's commands, but I'm going to take care of you. So God, around chapter 21, makes a promise, kind of, speaks to her, because this whole situation had gotten out of hand, and God makes the promise that he's going to take care of Ishmael and going to take care of his mother Hagar. So God has to step in and make sure that this situation doesn't get out of hand, and that Hagar and Ishmael are not punished or penalized because they are part of a mess they didn't make. They were part of this mess because of decisions made by Sarah and Abram. And so God makes a promise out there in the desert, and God has kept that promise. Who are the two most successful people when it comes to money today? Arabs and Jews. The Arabs are the descendants of Ishmael, and Jews are the descendants of Isaac. Who's fighting today? Arabs against Jews. They both claim to be the legitimate sons of Abraham, and they are. One is the son of promise, one is not. And the Arabs, Ishmael's descendants, say that Jerusalem belongs to them, and the promise God made to Abram, they are the possessors of that promise. The sons of Isaac says we are the legitimate sons of that promise, and that promise belongs to us, and the land belongs to us, because what they're fighting over is land, Jerusalem. That Middle Eastern strip of land, 21 miles, I think some say by 9 miles of land, right off the banks of the Red Sea. Huh? That's a part of it. All of that land, the Gaza Strip, northern Israel, all of that is the land of promise. Because remember, he left Ur of the Chaldeans and went to a land that I'll show you, and he ended up in the Middle East, in that area. So went up, and then he went over, and then he went down into the land of Canaan. And they're fighting over that today. And Israel is surrounded by their Arab neighbors, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Iran, Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon. All of these particular different Arab groups over there fighting against the Jews. And so God takes care of the mistake that Sarah and Abraham makes. And so she has to go back. Now this is the part you struggle with. Now she had already left for her peace. Ooh, I want to tell y'all this. Sometimes you have to leave a situation for your peace. And she left for her peace. And she was put out, and she wasn't going to go back. But you know what God told her to do? Go back and submit to your mistress. Yeah. Now, ain't that something? Sent her back into a situation that was untenable because she was being mistreated by Sarah. And God said, go back and submit to her. Now, God had a plan, And God, see, this is the part where you have to really look what the lesson is. God sent her back to submit, but he sent her back also to make Sarai look at her mistake. She had to know, you don't get away this easy. You created this mess. You got to live with it. And sent her back, and she went back and submitted to her mistress. Both, it was God saying, you going back because I'm sending you back, and you go and submit. But to Sarai, don't let Sarai off that easy. She had to go back. You had to look at this and see this through. You created this mess. And so eventually, God woke up the wound of Sarai, and Abram had a child named Isaac. That's chapter 21 is where I want to get to, because I want to teach this lesson. Because she was able to have a son, and that is a blessing. That is the blessing. That's the blessing. And I really wanted to get to this part about you got to be careful how God works through these human interferences, these hands we put in God's business, and how God makes us live with the decisions we make. But God blesses also the mistakes we make as a result of the consequences of bad decisions. And so God does all of this, and God makes a promise. He blesses both Isaac, but he also blesses Ishmael. And that's what God does, because God also blesses all that he has set forth to happen, to be manifested. Now let me get to chapter 22, because this is where the tension gets thick. Because God took them through all of this to get what he promised, which was a son. That son would be the father of a great nation. Have you ever heard a deacon pray? And they prayed the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It was through those three persons that God created a nation. Abraham had Isaac, Isaac had Jacob, and Jacob had 12 sons by 4 different women. That's what created a nation. From 1 came 2, because remember, Isaac had 2 sons. He had Jacob and Esau, and they didn't get along. They didn't get along simply because one didn't want the birthright, but he wanted the blessing. And so he sold his birthright for some soup. And so now Jacob has the birthright. But now there's going to come a time, I'm not going to really get into that story, I don't think. But there's a time when the father blesses the eldest son. The eldest son is the one who gets the blessing or gets the inheritance. But the speaking of the blessing of the father on the eldest son is what you wanted, because literally that is the person he leaves everything to. Materially, but he also speaks a blessing over his life. And so there came a time when it was time, as Isaac got old, he was to transfer the blessing that was on his life over to his eldest son's life. But a problem arose. The mama liked one son, and the daddy liked the other son. Are y'all still with me? Yeah. Boy, I tell you, you start showing favoritism to your children, that creates problems. Rebecca liked who? She liked Jacob. And Isaac liked Ishmael. And they were two different sons. One was a mama's boy. The other one was an outdoorsman, a hunter. He worked with his hands. Jacob was probably pretty. Curly hair, skin was untouched by the sun. Hands had no calluses on it. Hung around his house, hung around his mama. Esau was an outdoorsman. He was kind of an outdoorsman, loved to hunt, fish, work in the field, and all that kind of stuff. And so, if you read chapter 25, verse 27, it says, the boys grew up. Esau was a skilled hunter. Y'all with me? Chapter 25, verse 27. It describes these two sons. But I want to share this with you. They didn't just start fighting after they got out of the womb. They started tussling when they were in the womb. So look, y'all there? In Genesis 25. Genesis 25 verse 22 says, the babies jostled with each other within her. That's when they're in the womb. They fight. Two twin boys fighting in the womb. You see that? She had a pregnancy to where she felt them babies in there tussling. And she asked, why is this happening to me? Y'all with me in verse 22? Genesis 25. Why is this happening within me? So she inquired of the Lord. And the Lord told her, two nations are in your womb. Two people are within you will be separated. One will be stronger than the other. The older will serve the younger. God had already, again, predestined how things were going to work out. He had already said, Abraham and Sarah, you're going to have a son. I got this. I'm going to awaken your womb, and Abraham's seed is going to fertilize the egg in you. It might be dormant and dead, but I'm going to do this. Now God is saying that the elder son is going to serve the younger son. Now, it was going to happen the way God said it was going to happen. But you're going to see in this story a woman try to help God out again. So look at what it says. Look at how it describes it too. The boys grew up. Esau was a skilled hunter, a man of the open country. He was an outdoorsman. While Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Two different boys. And then we're going to see the story. And look at what it says. Isaac loved Esau. You see that? I'm still in verse 28. Isaac had a taste for wild game. He loved Esau. But Rebekah loved Jacob. Okay, they had tension in the womb. And now they born, growing up together. And each parent got a favorite child. And so the story continues where I told you earlier about how the birthright was sold for a bowl of soup. You see that? Y'all still with me? And Esau wanted some. Jacob said, I give you some, but first sell me your birthright. Verse 31. You see that? Now this dude finna sell his birthright for a bowl of soup. And Jacob wasn't having none of that shenanigans. He said, first of all, you got to swear to me first. And so he swore an oath, verse 33, and sold him his birthright. And then Jacob gave him bread and lentil stew. And he ate and drank, got up and left. Because Esau despised the birthright. He was probably, I think authors and scholars say, he was the person responsible for taking care of the family, providing food and sustenance and material things, because his father was old now. So he worked hard. He despised having this responsibility. And so that situation plays itself out, and we see that. Now, we're going to see this situation where it plays out where Esau gets married and all that stuff. We're going to go over into now chapter 27, where this birthright situation goes and how he's now going to trick Esau out of his birthright. And chapter 27, now I really want to give you this plot because this is some crazy stuff. This is some crazy stuff. And I'm not going to give it to you word for word, but Isaac was getting old. His eyes were weak. He could no longer see physically with his eyes. And so he called Esau, his older son. He said, my son, he said, here I am. He said, I'm old. And the day of my death I don't know the day of my death. Now then, get your equipment, which is his bow and arrow, and go out into the open country, hunt some wild game for me, and prepare for me that good old soup, that meal that I like, and bring it to me, so that I may give you my blessings before I die. The problem is verse 5. Esau and Jacob's mama and Isaac's wife overhear this. She eavesdropped. And she hears what Isaac tells Esau. Now, Rebekah was listening. And when Esau left to go to the open country to hunt game, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, look, I overheard that. She did admit that she was eavesdropping. Your father said to your brother, bring me some game and prepare tasty food to eat so that I can give you the blessing in the presence of the Lord before I die. And then she started plotting in verse 8. Y'all see this stuff? She started plotting. She said, now this is what we finna do, son. Listen carefully. Go out to the flock and bring me 2 choice goats. Man, I don't want to even go here because I'm going to snap. So that I can prepare some tasty food for your father. Now, I want to go on and stop right here. You can help your children out too much. This woman decided, now, the story would have been probably logical if Jacob could have been able to cook it himself. But she knew what Isaac liked, the ingredients, the taste, and what he liked. So she said, I'm going to do it for you. This woman is so conniving to get her son the blessing that she going to trick her own husband. You understand how serious this is? She's going to trick her own husband. Really, she tricked her husband, but Sarai didn't trick Abraham, just offered Abraham an option. And Abraham took advantage of it. Now she's going to trick her own husband to give her son an advantage. And so she want to help her son get what she think her son ought to get. And she knew that that blessing went to the eldest son. Which remember, her favorite son was Jacob. So she says, I'm going to prepare tasty food for your father. Just the way he liked it. You see that in the text? She knew what he liked. And then you take it to your father and he'll eat it. And he'll bless you before he dies. Now Jacob knew something. Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, now wait a minute. Now ain't no way we're going to be able to pull this off. I don't smell like my brother. I don't look like my brother. And my father ain't going to be fooled if I go in there, because he know I like to put on cologne, shave, and I be clean. And he said, you know my brother Esau is a hairy man. While my skin is smooth, I go through my routine every morning, putting olive oil and cocoa butter and all kind of stuff. I go through the routine of being clean. And what if Father touched me? And I would appear to be tricking him. It would bring a curse down on me rather than a blessing. His conniving mother said, boy, I'd already figured that out. His mother said to him, my son, let the curse be on me. I don't want to go there, but sometimes when we help our children out too much, the consequences of helping them out falls on us. Ain't the truth what I'm saying? That stuff come back on us. Just do what I say. Go and get them to young goats and bring them in. So he went and got it and brought it to his mother. She prepared tasty food, just like his father liked it. Rebekah went in there and took some of her son's clothes. Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had in the house, and put them on Jacob. She also covered his hands and smooth parts of his neck with goat skin. So this woman's so conniving. She took the skin from the goat and she put him on his neck, because let me come in for a minute. Let me show you what a father would do, because he couldn't see, remember. So you would, Isaac probably would have grabbed him by the neck and grabbed him by his arm to know who he was. You know what I'm saying? So she put it here and here, and in fact, you can maybe see it. And okay, that way, because Esau is here. That's how low down she is. This woman done figured this out. She has studied the way Isaac interacts with both Esau and Jacob. And so he would probably grab him by the neck, because they would kiss or do a holy expression where, they kiss each other on each side of the cheek. He'd probably grab him by the neck and grab him by the hand, pull him down, and kiss him on the cheek, which is a way we would say shaking hands when you greet. And so she knew that, so she put that goat skin over his hand, or over his forearm, and around his neck. And then handed Jacob the tasty food and the bread that she had made. He went into his father's, and said, my father. Probably changed the tone and tenor of his voice. Yes, my son. He answered, who is it? And Jacob said to his father, I am your firstborn son, or firstborn Esau. Esau, your firstborn. Have you done what I told you? Please sit down. I may eat the game, so I may bless you. And Isaac said to his son, how did you find this game so quick, my son? That boy finished up. Now, Isaac might have been blind, but he wasn't stupid. Now, he just asked for it,
And the boy ain't been out to hunt nothing. He had to hunt it, he had to bring it back, he had to clean it, skin it, and cook it. Now how you do this so quick? And then the boy started lying on Jesus, lying on the Lord. I ain't gonna say Jesus. Man, this boy, I tell you, the Lord gave me success. Now what the boy lying on the Lord for? Boy, you went out there in the barn and in the field and got them goats. Now he done flat out lied on the Lord. The Lord gave him success. And it was his mama's plot that got that food so fast. And then Isaac said to Jacob, come near, let me touch it. That's when the expression of the neck and the hand, my son. Now, I may know whether or not you really my son Esau or not. Now, Isaac suspected that something fishy was going on. Blind but not stupid. See, folks think you stupid. I might be slow. I might not be the brightest bulb in the socket, but I ain't stupid. And he wasn't stupid. And Jacob went closer to his father. His father touched him. And his father suspected now, the voice is of Jacob, but the hands are of Esau. He did not recognize him. His hands were hairy, like his brother Esau, so he proceeded in blessing him. And he asked a question for Jacob to become clean. Ain't that a mess? Did you see the human drama in this stuff? Are you really my son, Esau? Look at this lying scam. Boy, I tell you. I am. And then he said, my son, bring me the game that I may eat so I can bless you. So Jacob brought it to him, he ate. He brought him wine to drink. And then Isaac said to him, come in, my son, and he kissed him. Grabbed him by the neck, kissed him. So when he kissed him, when Isaac smelled, his mama knew what she was doing. You know, that's why she went there and got them clothes. Smelled them clothes. He smelled like Esau, and he blessed him. And then he started. He said, "Oh, the smell of my son, the smell of my son is like the smell of the fields that the Lord has blessed." He knew that them clothes and it smelled like Esau. He didn't smell like an outdoor. He said, "May the Lord bless you. Heaven's dew. The earth's riches, abundant in grain and wine. May nations serve you, bow down to you. And be the Lord over your brother. And may the sons of your mother bow down. And may he curse. May those who curse you be cursed, and those who bless you be blessed." And after Isaac finished blessing him, Jacob showed up. Esau showed up, and Jacob had already gotten the blessings, and his brother came in from hunting and prepared to taste the meal, brought it to his father. I'm down in verse 30. He said to his father, "Father, please sit up and eat the game so that I may receive the blessing." And his father, I said to him, "Who are you?" He said, "Your son," he answered, "your firstborn Esau." And Isaac trembled violently. He didn't get scared, he got nervous because he knew he had now been deceived. "Who was it then that hunted the game and brought to me? And I ate." And he came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed. And Esau heard the words of his father, and he burst out with a loud and bitter cry, and said, "Bless me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came and deceived me, and deceitfully took your blessing." And Esau said, I really wanted to kind of put a little dramatic tension. He probably done a little more than crying. He probably cussing. My verse 36, he probably was cursing, cutting up. And then Esau didn't quite tell the truth right here. He said, this is the second time he took advantage of me. It's true in a sense, but the first time he let him take advantage of it. Because remember, he was hungry and wanted some soup. And he said, listen, I need some of that food and wine you got and bread. And he was so desperate for it that he said, I'll sell you my birthright to get it. And he was true in the sense that he was the second time his brother took advantage of him or gained his. First time he took advantage of his weakness, but the second time his mother was behind this plot. And then he said, hey, you have reserved any blessings for me? Because see, and the thing what he says, have you reserved any blessing for me? What Isaac done, he couldn't undo. And it wasn't a second blessing he could give because of the tradition and the culture. And there's nothing that he could do. And so it was what it was. And I'm going down to verse 38. And Esau said to his father, do you only have one blessing, my father? Bless me too. And Esau wept aloud. And his father answered to him, says, your dwelling will be away from the riches of the earth, away from the dew of the heavens. And you will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. And you will grow restless, and you will throw a yoke from off of your neck. And he's kind of explained to him that life's going to be hard for him, because it is. It's going to be hard for him. And verse 41, and I'm closing because don't want to hold you too long. But this is where the feud begins between these two brothers. And this feud will last a long time. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing the father gave to him. And the days of mourning of their father was near. But this is being told to us. It's in quotation mark. He said, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. When the days of mourning for my father are near, then I will kill my brother Jacob. Now here the mama. Now this woman messy. When Rebecca was told what oldest son said, she said to her son, her favorite son, boy, you got to get out of here. You got to leave him. This boy, for real, he going to get you. Your brother planned to avenge himself by killing you. Are y'all still with me? I'm in verse 42. He said, your brother planned to kill you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once. Go to my brother Laban in Haran and stay there for a while until your brother's anger subsides. But it would never subside. And so he had to leave. And his mama got him in this mess. Now she's trying to get him out of this mess, because she knows that Esau is real. As soon as Jacob closed his eyes and the days of mourning are over, he knows that he's going to be killed by his brother. And then Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm disgusted with living because of this Hittite woman and all this kind of stuff. And so if Jacob takes his wife among this land, and she gonna try to say, well, he going away because I don't want him to marry one of these Hittite women, these sisters. Hittite women were probably black. I want him to go to Haran where my brother lived and marry a nice Jewish girl. So That was the excuse. And so that's how that story ended. So he ended up leaving because his mother sent him away because she knew the plot. And she told Isaac, I'm sending away because I don't want to marry one of these sisters, or one of these Hittite women, which were probably women with a high content of melanin. And that was his excuse. And so he went away. But even in that situation, this story is going to unfold because in Hedera, man, this plot finna get so thick. And on his way there, Jacob gonna have this dream, and then he's gonna arrive over there, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the story. Now Jacob's troubles ain't over. Now he think he's out of trouble, but he finna get into a son-of-a-bitch situation, the way he finna be tricked by his soon-to-be father-in-law, because he finna have to work a long time for the woman he loves. Y'all still with me? Y'all get these lessons that are in here. You see the human drama of this, and how when you help God out, you create more of a mess. You create tension in human relationships. We saw that Sarah done it. Now we're seeing Rebecca doing it to get what God had already promised, that the older son would serve the younger son. That's not what God said. God had a way he was going to make it happen. Human being got involved and tried to do it for God. God can do his own bit. God don't need our help. Sometimes you have to wait and be patient. God doesn't ever tell us how he's going to do a thing, but he just promises that he is going to do a thing, and you got to wait on it. Do I have any witnesses on it? You got to wait on God. And the lack of human patience, the lack of patience that on our behalf tend to help God out, and we create more problems, and we make a mess of situation. And what we do is we mess up human relationship, people we got to live with after we make the messes we make. This feud between these two brothers is going to last a long time, until the book of Obadiah. The book of Obadiah is written because the descendants of Esau are going to continue to harass the descendants of Jacob, or the children of Israel. And these descendants of Esau are going to keep attacking Israel to evade. This feud lasts a long time until the book of Obadiah in the minor prophets. Thousands of years have passed. Both of these men are dead. Their descendants are dead. The 12 sons of Jacob are dead. Their descendants are living on. This is generations, hundreds of years later. And these descendants of Esau are constantly attacking the descendants of Jacob. And eventually God has enough of it. In the book of Obadiah, and I'm closing, listen, God says enough is enough. Enough is the name of one chapter. And God says enough is enough. The book of Obadiah is in the minor prophet. And it says, the Psalm of the Lord says about Edom, which is the descendants of the Edomites. The Lord said, I'm going to kill every one of them. And he wiped out all the descendants of Esau. It's not one Edomite on the planet right now. So that they would never give Israel or the descendants of Isaac any more trouble. God killed them all, wiped them off the planet. You got to read it now. See, y'all think I'm making this up. Obadiah. Well, God is going to pronounce a judgment upon the descendants of Esau, which are the Edomites. See, I will make you a small nation among the nations. You will be bitterly despised, the pride of your heart. In other words, God judges them. And he's going to tell them why. Because of the violence against your brother. Go to verse 10 of Obadiah chapter 1. Because of the violence against your brother. You just ain't going to let this go. Your descendants just ain't going to let this go. Y'all just ain't going to let this go. Y'all keep trying to avenge you trying to avenge Esau. And then I'm going to close with verse 18. Jacob will be a fire, Joseph will be a flame, Esau will be a stubble. And they will set him on fire and destroy him. And there will be no survivors. You see that? From Esau. No. They would never ever attack Israel or the descendants of Esau, the sons of Jacob, again. There will be no survivors. See, y'all think I be making this stuff up. No survivors. I'm going to deal with it. It's because y'all got this long-standing feud. I'm going to settle this feud. And because y'all won't reconcile, there was a reconciliation between Esau and Jacob when Jacob came back with his family's children and he sent an offering to Esau, hoping to soften the blow of the encounter. And God had to step in, and the two brothers did somehow, in a way, in a sense, reconcile. But it was a false reconciliation, because reconciliation between them was achieved. And may the Lord bless between you and thee while we're absent one from the other and all that kind of stuff where we get our benediction. But the descendants of Esau still felt some kind of way. In other words, if we believe, and some scholars do believe, that there was a reconciliation between Esau and Jacob, the folk down the line, other family members, don't know how to move on and let things go. So that's why you keep folk out your business. Keep folk out your business. As Sister Harris said, you said that. That's true. Because see, you be done made up. You done told everybody that you're mad at Johnny. And y'all done made up, they still mad. That's why I tell my daughters, keep your family business in your family. Under your roof, behind your doors and windows. Don't tell me about your husband mistreating you or your boyfriend mistreating you, because you're going to want me to be around him when y'all make up. I ain't going to feel that kind of way. So don't tell me. If it get to a point where you feel threatened or unsafe, tell me. I'll come handle him. I'll throw these hands. But if you think y'all going to make up, don't have me come over there jumping down his throat. And when I get to jump down his throat, you're going to get back with me. Because I ain't going to never feel about him the same way. I'm going to be like the descendants of Esau. Whenever he come around, I'm going to be looking at him sideways. Ain't the truth what I'm saying? So don't have me over there in a fight. Y'all going to make up. And then you want me to treat this boy or this man like I was treating him before you ever told me. So just don't tell me. If y'all think y'all going to stay together and work it out, just leave me out of it. Because I don't want to have no hostility toward this man. You see what I'm saying? And so this hostility between these descendants of Esau and Isaac, it's long-standing until God stepped in the book of Obadiah, said none of y'all will survive. I'm sick of this. Because y'all keep attacking them, not because they doing anything to you, but because y'all trying to avenge Esau. And they done reconciled. I fixed that. Because they met there in that wilderness and they made up. Now, I'm not saying they were best friends, but at least they had quashed this situation to a level that they could live together reasonably. Making sense to y'all? Ain't this some good lesson? Come help me out. And